In Kenya's main highlands, the age-old practice of subsistence farming thrives, nurturing communities and sustaining generations. Subsistence farming in Kenya is basically a practice where a farmer grows crops to meet the needs of themselves and their families on small holdings. In this bountiful land, the tender care of dedicated farmers brings forth an abundant harvest of nutritious crops such as kales and cabbages. Amidst the breathtaking beauty of these landscapes, we embark on a journey to uncover the potential of this kind of farming as well as the challenges therein. For any agribusiness venture, whether small or big, it is essential to understand your product before investing your money and going full throttle in the name of making it big in agribusiness. For instance, in modern Kenyan homes, kales, or rather Sukuma Wiki, are very familiar. But how commercially attractive are they, and what does it take to have a good harvest so that you can hit the market? That's the focus of our show today. But first, our food for thought. According to a study conducted by Food and Agriculture Organization FAO, approximately 75% of Kenyan farmers are engaged in subsistence farming, relying on their agricultural activities for both food security and income generation. However, the research reveals that these farmers face numerous obstacles that hinder their productivity and economic growth. Research has also shown that subsistence farmers can increase their productivity and yields by adopting improved farming techniques and technologies. For instance, a study conducted by the Kenya Agricultural Research Institute, KARI, found that the use of improved seeds and appropriate fertilizer application led to significant yield increases in various crops cultivated by subsistence farmers. These findings demonstrate the potential for increased food production and improved livelihoods through the adoption of modern farming practices. The tranquil village of Kabare in Kirinyaga County comes to life as the golden rays of the morning sun pierce through the lush landscape. Among the hardworking farmers in this blissful setting, we meet Peter Murage, a dedicated subsistence crop farmer. With weathered hands and determined gaze, Peter tends to this beautiful kales farm, a symbol of his resilience and unwavering spirit.
Sukuma wiki kwanza unanunua mbegu, unatayarisha sehemu kidogo, unamwaga hizo mbegu. Baada ya mwezi kama moja hivi, ndio unang'oa hizo seedlings, unapeleka kwa shamba. Ukiwa umetayarisha shamba, umetengeneza matuta, unaweka manure, sasa ndio unatransplant hizo seedlings kutoka kwa ile ni. Baada ya kuweka kwa hiyo kashamba kidogo, inachukua mwezi moja, kama mwezi moja hivi. Na baadaye ukishapeleka kwa shamba, inakaa kama mwezi moja. Kama wiki tatu, wiki ya 4. Inaanza kuwa imekomaa sasa ya kukula ama ya kupeleka sokoni. Kuna fertilizer za kupanda. Sasa zile unapanda, ukitengeneza hizo mashimo ya kuweka hizo seedlings. Kwanza unaweka manure ya ng'ombe, unachanganya na DAP, ndio sasa unakuja unapanda, unaweka maji. Baadaye after kama wiki 2 hivi, unakuja na top dressing fertilizer ya CAN. Baadaye kama ya wiki nyingine 2 ama 3, unaweka compound nyingine ya 17. Sasa baadaye ndio ukivuna, ikikaa wiki kama zingine 2, unatoa progress hivi, ndio iendelee kutoa majani. Unajua sukuma ni unatoa hizo majani, unaiboost tena. Pia sasa zingine tunatumia foliar, zile za matawi, komae haraka.
Peter reveals to us the different processes involved in growing of kales from the planting stage to the harvesting stage. However, as a kale farmer, there are numerous obstacles that hinder the growth and productivity of this crop.
Sukuma, changamoto ile iko ya sukuma sana sana sio mingi. Ile kubwa sana ni ya kuzuia wadudu. Wadudu wanakula hizo seedlings. Ndio sana hiyo ndio tunaona ndio shinda. Lakini ikiwa ni ukitransplant na zikishika kwa mchanga inaendelea tu kukua. Bora tu naweka maji wakati inafaa, unaweka fertilizer ama manure. Hakuna shida nyingine.
Peter tends to his thriving kale farm, where rows of deep green leaves thrives in a gentle breeze. He meticulously inspects each kale plant, ensuring their health and vitality. With a deep-rooted connection to the land, Peter understands the significance of his work, knowing that the success of his kale crop will directly impact the livelihoods of many.
Sukuma Wiki inategemea msimu ya mvua ama wakati ya kiangazi. Sana wakati ya kiangazi bei huwa iko sawa, iko juu. Unajua manyumba mingi huwa unatumia hii mboga ya kila siku. Na sio watu wengi sana wanaweza kukuza hizo sukuma. So demand inakuwa high when kuna mvua. Lakini wakati wa mvua juu sana manyumba mingi huwa iko na hizo vegetables, bei inashuka. Na kwa sasa kila mtu ako na urahisi kupata hizo vegetables za kukula. Lakini yenyewe sio ati inakaa kwa muda mrefu ikiwa haina bei. Inakaa muda kidogo tu. Alafu bei inakuwa sawa. Kwa wakati huu wanapeleka soko inaitwa Kutus Open Market. Sana ndio tunategemea. Na pia tuko na wale wa mama wa vibanda huku. Wale wanakuja wanachukua, wanaenda kuuzia watu hapa local. Lakini zikiwa mingi tunavuna, tunapeleka huko open air market. Sasa ndio wanachukua kwa wingi. Wanachukua kwa gunia, hata wanaweza chukua kilo 100 ama kilo 200. Sasa ndio tunapeleka huko Kutus.
Support is a vital factor in regard to the success of any small-scale farmer, be it in kind or financial aid.
Sasa tukisema serikali itafute soko, naona tu kama itakuwa sawa ikiwa wanaweza tuwe mtu akiwa analima ako na assurance ya kilima hiyo kitu amelima atapata direct market. Hiyo ndio tungekuwa tunaweza furahia sana tukiwa tuko na that ready market. Hapa hakuna support yoyote. Ni mtu analima, unatafuta soko, ukikaa ukifikiria kulima kile unataka kulima unalima. Ukipata soko ikiwa mzuri, unasema sawa. Ukipata hakuna soko, hakuna support yoyote ya serikali. Tunaweza sema namna hiyo.
With the escalation of the cost of living and inflation in prices of goods and services, subsistence farmers have also been immensely affected in their farming activities.
Bei ya fertilizer sasa hizi iko juu sana. Na hata ukilinganisha na ile mapato unapata na inputs, tuseme inputs za kulima hiyo kitu. Yenyewe hakuna faida hata yeyote mtu anapata. Juu bei iko chini, fertilizer iko juu. Lakini tunajimundu tu tunaendelea tu kulima. At least mtu akipata kitu sawa. Ukikosa unasema tu ni sawa.
Though coupled with a myriad of challenges, subsistence farming, a style of agriculture meant to provide for the needs of a family or small group, plays a critical role in the country's food security agenda. How then do we increase the production? At this point, we take a short break, but when we return, we shall have agricultural specialists on board and dive deeper into the world of subsistence farming with buyers of kales, that is Sukuma Wiki, and cabbages. See you in the Experts Corner. Our experts in this show have a wealth of experience in subsistence farming. We speak to Charlene Mihenza and Elvis Kiprono, both from Simlo Seeds Company Limited, on kale farming as well as cabbage farming. Simlo Seeds is a subsidiary of Kenya Seed Company, a leading vegetable seed marketing company with over 30 years of experience in production, processing, and marketing of horticultural seeds in Kenya and the East African region. We start with the best practices in collards farming, commonly known as Sukuma Wiki, which we featured in our farming stories segment.
Right here what we have is the Sukuma Wiki, the collards, and also we have the Ethiopian kale and the spinaches. This one fall under the family of brassicas. What it takes to have such, you need to prepare your farm well. That is, you have to put the seed on propagation. That is, you have to do a seed bed, or nowadays we do it in seed trays. Yeah. So the moment you put in the seed bed, it takes 21 days for it to mature, for it to be transplanted again on the ground. So in your shamba, you have to prepare your shamba well. You have to make it very fine, your soil to be very fine, and then you mix it with manure. We use the goat manure. We also use the cow manure, or even the chicken. It's much better. You mix it with your soil, and then the spacing from one hole to one collard to the other is about 45 centimeter by 60 centimeters. Yeah. So one hole, one plant. So you put that spacing in that for it to. You see the space it has, it can expand the way it is without any interference. As you can see, even when you put the fertilizer or manure, it gets all the nutrients it needs because they are not squeezing one another. Yeah. And then after you have transplanted, you'll apply fertilizer, which is a DAP for planting. Then after 2 to 3 weeks, you'll apply CAN, that is for nitrogen fixation, because it's leafy and it needs a lot of nitrogen for it to look like this. Then of course you can use also a foliar fertilizer for it to get boosted. You boost it to be this big, the way you can see how healthy it is. And you can see it doesn't have any spots, any diseases, any insects that are biting it. Yeah. When you plant, you use the farm manure. And then when you top dress, you use a little bit of DAP. That is when you're transplanting, you use a little bit of DAP. And then you'll come and use a little bit of CAN, of course. And then also when we were actually planting this, we've also used farm manure again on it, so that it becomes a little bit more organic. Not more on the chemical side part of it, yeah. Then the goodness of Sukuma Wiki, you will not get a lot of, you not use a lot of chemicals when it comes to fungicides, the only thing probably it can affect is insecticides. You'll get aphids, which you'll find them behind your Sukuma. Yeah, those are the only insects that you can find on Sukuma, but generally you'll use less chemicals.
Collards, or if you like, Sukuma Wiki, and cabbages have similarities, which makes sense considering the fact that they are both of the same plant species, brassicas. And so, if you are considering cabbages in your subsistence farming, here is what you need to know.
We have a whole series of cabbages, and cabbages go with the agroecological zones. We have different zones in Kenya, from the dryland zones to the highland zones, from the wet zones to the highland and dry zones. So cabbages do well in most of these regions, but it depends on which variety you pick. So for example, for Badea, we have a cabbage practa, which tolerates cold, very high, low temperatures. And again, it's strong on disease. So you'll find the higher you go, the more susceptible the crops are to diseases. So some of the cabbages you'll be seeing here are for those high areas where disease is a challenge, and therefore they need a product that can withstand such diseases. Then we have cabbages also for the warm, hot areas. You know, cabbage is a cold, ideally it's a cold crop. It does well in cold areas, but we found cabbages that are suitable for even the warmer areas. So these are for farmers who are in the lower parts of our country where the temperatures are up, they have fertile soils, but they want to grow cabbage. So we have varieties that do well in that region. Then we have also varieties that do well, targeted mainly for institutions. Say you want to sell your cabbage by the kilo. You have a market for a school, for a college, where they require cabbage in large quantities, and it's by the kg. Then we have cabbages that are suitable for that. For example, cabbage chairman F1. This is a very large cabbage, doing up to 8 kilos per head, and suitable also for transporting over long distances, and it can hold in the field if you have to wait for the market. For example, the school gives you an order for next week, then your cabbage can be ready this week, and it can hold in the field for even up to 3 weeks while you wait for your order. The best practice dictates you start with the seed. Pick the right seed. Know which seed or variety that will do well in your area. Look at your soils. Now, today we're asking our farmers to test their soils, because our soils have been used over the years, and some of our soils are very deficient in one of the nutrients and very high in other nutrients because of overuse of fertilizer. So we advise our farmers today, once you've selected the seed, you know your region, you know the right seed, then now go ahead, test your soil, because going forward, nutrition will be key. So once you know the status of your soil in terms of the pH, acidity or alkalinity of the soil, you know what is deficient, whether it's high in phosphorus, how much nitrogen your soil has, and therefore how much nitrogen you need to add. It will help you in the long run to bring out the best cabbage. So for farmers, once they have tested their soil, also how you raise your seedlings. You know, between sowing the seed to transplanting, that is a very critical stage of a plant. Once you get it right there, the plant is strong. The plant has good standability, where once you transplant, you have a very good start for the cabbage. So today we're advising our farmers, instead of doing it on the normal ground nursery, we're advising them to go onto the seed tray. So that once you get very inert material on the seed tray, you'll be able to use a media that is very clean, free from any diseases, and you'll be able to have a very balanced nutrition as the crop starts. The soil is loose, the media is loose, and it will allow the roots to develop very fast and the plant to shoot. So once you have that done within 14 days, then you come to your farm to transplant. Now once you're at the farm, spacing is key. Like you realize this particular cabbage here requires 60 by 60 centimeter spacing. That cabbage over here will require maybe a 50 by 50 spacing. So if you know the size of head you're looking at, then you'll take the right spacing. So for chairman, you do 60 by 60 because this cabbage has the potential of going up to 8 kgs. For cabbage Gloria, you have a 4 to 5 kilo cabbage, so you want to reduce the space and have more heads in that same field. So for cabbage chairman, you have a potential of doing up to 12,000 heads per acre. For Gloria, you can do up to 15,000 heads per acre. So depending on where you are, depending on your mathematics, because today we are telling farmers cabbage farming is a business. You don't just want to do it. You want to know what output are you going to get. So in this acreage, you're doing 12,000. So if the market is 20 shillings, then you do 12,000 times 20, you have 240,000 as kind of the expected income. If you're doing 15,000 heads, then it's 15,000 times 20, then you're looking at about 300,000 shillings per acre. So those are important numbers that a farmer needs to look at as they engage or get into cabbage farming. The biggest challenge farmers have with is selection of seed. Like I said from the beginning, selection is key. Knowing your variety that you're going to plant, because that will determine the eventual output that you're going to get. Number two is the nutrition. How do you feed your crop? Because like I said, when your soils are lacking in some of the nutrients, our farmers traditionally just apply DAP. Naambiana tu DAP ndio mbolea ya kupanda na CAN ndio una top dress. And over the years, that is the story. DAP, panda, CAN, top dress. So you find you overload your soils with acidity. You find DAP is very high in the P, and therefore over time the phosphorus levels in the soil build up, and that will end up affecting the growth of the plant. So if a farmer tests his soil, he will be able to know which variety to pick, which fertilizer to use. Today for vegetables, there are more improved fertilizers, very specific to the crop and very specific to the soils, how your soils are. So you can give the right quantity of fertilizer for your cabbage. So once you test your soil, you'll be able to know which and how much of fertilizer to apply, and that will help you manage on the costs. Then number three comes to pest management. Cabbages, just like any other plant, will be affected by pests, and therefore a farmer needs to know exactly what chemical to apply and when to apply it, and also monitoring of that field. We have a very common pest for cabbage called diamond backmoth, and diamond backmoth DBM once a farmer is late in managing it, it goes on to affect the produce at the end of the season. So pest management is key, as well as selection of seed and nutrition as the key main problems that a farmer needs to look out for. Yeah. Cabbage, any day you have it, you'll sell it. It's one of those most popular vegetables in Kenya. We consume it right across from Mombasa to Kisumu to Lodwar, and this cabbage will transport as far as you want it to go. So my message today to farmers is know your product, know your cabbage. We have cabbages that do even as early as 60 days. That is cabbage Polo F1. So 2 months, you have your cabbage. We have cabbages for the hot areas. This is cabbage Chairman. And we also have cabbage Gloria. These ones do also extremely well with high temperatures. Then we have cold area cabbages. We have cabbage Practa F1 and we have cabbage Queen F1. Very ideal cabbages for cold areas. And also cabbages that are green inside. You find the monotony of the white cabbage, which is Gloria, is being broken by the Chairman and Queen F1, which are green inside. So these cabbages come in different attributes, and therefore, once you know the attribute, you know your market, then you're good to go.
And that marks the end of our show today. Thank you so much for watching. I do believe that you've learned 1 or 2 things concerning the management of kales, or Sukuma Wiki for that case. Thank you so much. See you again next time. My name remains Elijah Mwangi.